In our last video, we mentioned an explosion that took place in Mobile, Alabama. We are in the location, or in the area, should I say, of where a warehouse would have been in 1865. It was built to be a warehouse to store cotton bales. If we go back a couple of weeks to the first part of May in 1865, and we'll work our way forward to this date, is that General Canby for the Union and General Richard Taylor, Zachary Taylor, President Zachary Taylor's son, are going to meet in Centinel, Alabama, where Richard Taylor will surrender the remaining Confederate forces in his army. So we also talked about how Mayor Slough went and met Canby on Shell Road. He surrendered the city of Mobile in April. By May 25th of 1865, the Union is now in control of Mobile, Alabama. That warehouse that I mentioned was called the Marshall Warehouse. The cotton has been removed, and the Union forces, the Union government, have turned it into a munitions depot. So in this warehouse now are several tons of black powder that was confiscated from the Union Army. There are canister shot, there's shells, all kinds of armaments that were stored and confiscated from the Confederate Army. So May 25th for the citizens of Mobile started out as probably any other day in that recent time under Union control now. The war is over. The civil government has been replaced, or is in the process of being replaced. Slough is no longer the mayor of Mobile. Some of his administration is still in office, controlling the day-to-day tasks or jobs of the government, but the Union government is pretty much in control. The army is pretty much in control of the city. So the citizens are going about their everyday life in Mobile on that day. About 2 o'clock in the afternoon, an explosion is heard. They don't know, to this day, they don't know what happened to cause the explosion of the Marshall Warehouse. One account is going to say that the explosion was so strong that it shook the foundations of every building in Mobile. Another account is going to say that the explosion was so loud, so strong, that you could hear the explosion for 30 miles away. In this explosion, it destroyed, totally wiped out 8 blocks of the city of Mobile. Buildings leveled and destroyed. The crater that it left was 10 feet deep. That crater was left there for several years after the explosion. The Battle House Hotel is not far from us at all. If we were to walk to the Battle House, we could walk it from here in about 15 minutes. The windows, chandeliers, were destroyed in the Battle House and other buildings. The total cost of damage at that time was estimated to be around $800,000, which in today's currency would be somewhere around $14 million. One newspaper is going to say that, let's just look, the Mobile Morning News is going to describe this as a reign of death, with shells, timber, cotton bales, horses, men, women, and children commingled into an overwhelming mass of life and destruction. One person that was there that talked about this explosion that day is going to say that as they looked for survivors and all of this, that some of the bodies were so burned or disfigured that they were unrecognizable. Another description says of the blast says a writhing giant, gaunt and grim, bursting shells, flying timbers, the stoutest cheek paled as debris fell like rain across the city. Mobile's Morning News and Evening Telegraph described the damage as reporters tossed from their chairs, iron beams crashing through roofs, shattered windows citywide, and people knocked into sidewalks or into the water. We are not far from Mobile River, which this warehouse was close to. So even in the docks at that time, this explosion destroyed 8,000 to 10,000 bales of cotton. If you remember in our last video that we done before this one, as the Confederacy is leaving Mobile, the cavalry sets fire to cotton bales, and the citizens work hard to save as much cotton as they could from those fires. So even in this explosion, almost 10,000 bales of cotton are destroyed. And remember, cotton is still the livelihood of many in Mobile and the surrounding areas. The port of Mobile is still a prominent port. It's also reported that 3 ships were sunk that were sitting docked in the river due to this explosion. One ship, it says, was absolutely torn apart and was set on fire from this explosion, and the entire crew and passengers of the ship was lost in the river due to that explosion. One individual was on a ship that was not sunk or destroyed, but he was sitting at his desk, and it is reported that a brick came through a window and killed him from this explosion. So in all, they say that around 300 people were killed in this explosion, and somewhere altogether 300 to 500, at least 200 more, let's say it that way, were wounded or injured in this explosion. So why am I bringing this? This is a part of Mobile history, but this is something that's not talked about, or that I have not heard talked about in Mobile, or even if you search social media, YouTube, hardly anything about this explosion. But this was a devastating event. Like, as I said already, $14 million in today's currency done. Buildings destroyed. It took years to rebuild Mobile. And as I said earlier, that crater that was created due to that explosion was left for years before it was filled in Mobile. So this is something I find interesting, fascinating. Even though the war is over, it still has something to do with that war. It is said that the Union forces that were in Mobile thought that the Confederate forces that had left had changed their mind, and that they were going to attempt to retake Mobile, Alabama. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about some other people in upcoming videos. We're going to talk about a couple of the places in and around Mobile that has to do during the Civil War and after the Civil War. Thank you for watching.